We're back on my server build, the file server. So this is the existing case that I'm using. Let's plug a keyboard into this thing so I can shut it down. Anyways, I just have this little 14-inch monitor hooked up to that machine. So here's the FreeNAS console. Go ahead and tell it to shut down. Shut down. And we'll take a look on the inside and see what's in there. This is my existing server. It's a mini tower. It's really small. It's got two hard drives up, well, three hard drives up here. These are the 5 1/4 bays. They're screwed in right here. Got one down here in a hard drive bay. Got one here on the side. It's got room for another here on the side, except that this heatsink that I've got on the CPU is pretty super massive and it won't clear another hard drive being right here. So this heatsink is so large I cannot put the side of the case on. Here it is. Yeah. Let's grab the side of the case. So I'm running it along the side here and it just runs into this heatsink. It's a very large heatsink that I've had for a very long time. It cools great, and I run the fan at a speed that's so low you can watch the blades turn. We've got the RPM just crazy low. So it's pretty quiet, which not something you'd normally get from a server, but being with the side off, I've checked the temperature on the hard drives and they're all room temperature. Well, they're like 7 degrees above room temperature, which is perfectly acceptable. They're not stressed or anything in this thing. I just have it serve movies and stuff. Anyways, I'm going to get this all moved over to the other case now because I got nothing better to do this evening. And we'll see how much more room I have in there. It should be tremendous. This is a rather small motherboard. Can't even see it in this case. It's so cramped and crowded in there. Just for some reference, here is the old case, which obviously is bigger than the shot, and here's the old case. Quite a size difference. It's almost twice as long, and it's almost twice as tall, and I'd say it's almost twice as wide too. So while I got this going, here's the hard drives. I've got a 2 terabyte red Western Digital. Let's see, its mirror is a 2 terabyte green, and I've also got a 4 terabyte red and a Seagate 4 terabyte that I pulled out of a USB enclosure. This has given me issues in the past, but reformatted it, ran the diagnostics on it, said it was fine, put it back in and resilvered it, and it's been fine ever since. So that saved me some money not having to replace it. And since the data's mirrored, I'm not too concerned about it. But I've had a lot better luck with Western Digital than I have with Seagate. I've had several Seagates drop dead on me. That's why I've got so many Western Digitals. Even the green one that's supposed to be not ideal for NAS use just keeps on chugging. When it finally does go, I won't be sad to see it go because I got plenty of life out of it. And I'll have a mirror of it anyways. So, so while I've got 12 terabytes here, I actually only have 6 available because of redundancy. And it's saved my bacon a number of times, so I don't feel bad about half my data not being available. I figured before I put the heatsink on there, I'd show this tiny little motherboard in this monstrous case. As you can see, the full-size motherboard could come all the way down to here, and then it could also go all the way over to here. So you could put 2 of these that way, and yeah, there's a lot of room in here, and this is a very small motherboard. I think I originally had this in an ITX case, but it was a little bit too long for the ITX case. Oh. Anyways, I'll get the heatsink on there now. I've got the power supply hooked up. The power supply was actually coming out through this grommet originally, but it didn't reach, so I had to bring it in through here, which is fine. I relocated a couple of the standoffs. This obviously had a full-size motherboard in it at some point, but this is what I've got for now. The biggest problem with this is it's only got one PCI Express slot. Well, it's got the by one down here, but it's only got the one big one, and it's only got 4 SATA ports on board. So I'm going to be putting in a by 8 PCI Express SAS card, which will give me 8 more slots for the 8 hard drives, and I've already got the 4 used. I won't be able to put another SAS card in here, so when I decide to put more hard drives in here, which I'd like to do, that's all I'm going to get for now. So it'll be 8 250s. Okay, so that's that. Okay, bear with me on the shaky camera work, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 250 gig drives. Those will eventually get swapped out one by one for bigger drives. 1, 2, 3, or actually 6, 7, 8. That's the 8 250 gig drives. They're going to be mirrored and striped to give me a 1 terabyte redundant drive. Over here I've got the 4 terabyte red, the 4 terabyte Seagate, the 2 terabyte, well, let's see what yeah, oh, this is 4 terabyte here. Okay, 4 terabyte red, 2 terabyte green, 2 terabyte red, and finally the piece of junk Seagate. You can see it tucked in. I actually shut the fan here, stuck it in over there, so it's on its side, just kind of stuck in there because I'm out of drive bays for 3.5s. I could put it up here in the hot swap, but the unfortunately when I got this thing, I bought this case used, got a terribly good deal on it, but these hot swap bays are locked and I don't have the key for it. So I'm going to have to take them apart and disable the lock. But for now, I don't need to put those in there. I'll put something else in there. Okay, so I've got to put the bracket for the heatsink back here on the back of the motherboard. Here is that hard drive sticking out the back right here. I've got access to get to the hook it up with cabling. The person I bought this from really loved zip ties. I guess it looks neat and all, but yeah. So here's the SAS cable for the SAS controller. I had one SAS cable already, so the first 4 drives are hooked up and the cable comes through, and this is the end of it that plugs into the card. It's this really wide 24 pin, I think they called it, connector, and it's going to plug into the SAS card right about there. And I've got another one of these cables on order. We'll cover that when I get to that. We'll do a whole video on that. For now I'm just going to get the machine back up and running, so I got to cut these zip ties so things will reach where they're going. I've got and I can use these cables. So we've got three red cables and 3 black cables. I'll probably just remove all of these and go with my 4 orange cables. Anyways, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Pull these out. Let's see. Okay, hey, it's all zip tied together. It just come out as a contraption. I am not going to waste zip ties doing that sort of thing. Okay, so I've got 4 SATA power connectors. Luckily they're all close to each other, so this will work out nicely. This is how it's turned out. I've got the SATA cables, 4 orange ones running back here to the hard drives that are stuffed back there. Well, 3 of them are in their slots, 1 of them's stuffed. This is the SAS cable that will eventually go into the controller that's going to go right here. Amazingly enough, it will just clear this honkin' huge heatsink. I decided to not put the fan on the heatsink this time because it's right next to this massive, I think that's a 160 millimeter fan right behind it. So that'll be all the cooling that thing will need. Got the front panel and all the connectors for the front panel plugged into the motherboard. So as for this motherboard, it is a MSI H81M P33 motherboard. It was like 35 bucks at Fry's when I bought it. It was on sale. I think it was even a return open box. It worked fine. It's got a Haswell Pentium dual core in there. It's got an 8 gig and a 4 gig stick of RAM, so it's got 12 gigs of RAM in there. And it's got what, 6 gigs of storage right now? 12 total. Well, yeah. The 250s aren't hooked up yet, so it's got more than enough RAM for what it's doing. I'd love to toss in a pair of 8s and have it matched rather than the 8 and the 4, but I bought the 8 for it when I first built it, and then I got a 4. I got a package of 3 4 gig sticks. 2 of the 4 gigs went in my main computer, and the last 4 gig went in this thing. So it's not a matched set, but it works fine. So, boy, is there a lot of empty space right here. I could put more hard drives in here. Yeah, lots more. Oh yeah. Anyways, for now, here we go. Okay, it's powered up for the first time. I don't know if the 8 hard drives are powered up. They're plugged in, but since they don't have SATA cables running to a controller, I don't know if they actually spun up. But anyways, it's fairly quiet. Got a very gentle sound of fans. I think my Xbox makes more noise than this thing. So, yeah. That covers up the front fan if you want access to the bays, but clearly it'll just stay up there most of the time. You can see this fan spinning. Got these control buttons up here, and they make a nice beep when you press them. This one says LED. Well, now it's not going to make a beep, but you can see that I've got control of that fan light, and I think some of the other fans have lights too. Let's see, I've got top fan. Oh, that's high speed. Okay, so I can make them noisier. It changes color. Ooh, really high speed. Okay, let's try front. That one's at high speed too. Hard disk drive. GPU. I can only hear the top ones. Let's turn those off. Okay, I can't turn them all the way off. Nope. Okay. So, seemed like some of these were off when I first turned it on. I don't know how to turn them back off. I should probably download the manual for this case. So anyways. I don't know if front's hooked up. I don't hear anything. Hard disk drive. That doesn't seem to speed up. Yep, only the top one seems to be hooked to top. And there were a bunch of cables that weren't hooked up, so they must not be going through this controller. Let's see, front. We can look at the front fan while I press the button. Now, it's coming in and out of sync with the camera. Doesn't matter what speed it's at. No change in speed. So, anyways, it's up and running. There's the monitor. Funny fact is, this monitor runs off 12 volt DC, so I actually have it coming in and plugging into the power supply in the case. So when the computer's off, the monitor's off, and when the computer's on, the monitor comes on. I got this monitor used from work, and didn't come with a power brick. I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll just wire it into the computer. I already got 12 volts in there anyways. So, makes sense to me.